Hey everyone, Tech here. Welcome to Tech's Tavern. Grab a brew, pull up a chair, and let's do a quick look on a new title from Arcen Games called Skyward Collapse. And this is a game that I just received today. And in full disclosure, I did receive a copy from the developers, I believe. I also received a second copy from a subscriber, which I ended up giving to my son, I believe. So I just wanted to throw that out there so everybody knew ahead of time. But this is from Arcen Games, which is the same company. I've done a few other videos on their previous games on AI Wars, which is a game I very much enjoyed, and it's kind of one of those games I wish I could spend a little more time with than I have up to this point, because it's a very interesting concept behind the game. The other game was Shattered Haven, which was a game I did a Quicklook video on not too long ago, and that was a game that I kind of had good impressions on at first, when I first played it for maybe the first hour or so. But then as I played it some more, I kind of got to where I really didn't like it, for various reasons. So, but this game is a little more geared, I think, towards my area of, I was going to say expertise, but I guess that's highly debatable in some situations. So, but it's a pretty neat game. As you can see here, I've played 3 games and lost one. However, in those 2 games that are neither a win or a loss, one of them I would have won because I was on like turn 82 or something, I think. And then I got a phone call and had to stop, and I accidentally didn't save it. But it was on like easy difficulty. Anyway, let's jump forward a little bit here. What Skyward Collapse is, and we'll start a new game, and I'll kind of get into it here. Essentially, it's a god game where you have 2 factions on the map. You have the Norse and the Greek, and you don't directly control either one of them. What you actually do is you try to keep a balance of power between the 2 sides as long as you can, while also doing various little things that earn you score points and etc. throughout the course of it. I'm not real clear on all the win conditions, but there are kind of like ages, and if you can meet, I think if you meet certain point requirements before an age expires, you can get a victory, so to speak. However, the game, if not, I think the game can go a full, I think it goes 90 turns, is my understanding from some of the stuff I was reading. I'm not, again, 100% sure on that either. Because I tried to go to their website and read a little bit, and I haven't really gotten enough information to really dive into this. I will say, though, my impressions thus far are very positive. So let's go ahead and get into a game, and I'll explain what I've learned thus far. Map, you can pick a few different maps. They all give you good descriptions. Some have more. Terrain does play a factor in the game, where some terrain is impassable, or, there's various things, water, mountains, things like that. I'm just going to leave it on the standard one. Your factions, of course. General difficulty has to do with some of the spawn rates on bandits and different things like that. Easy, I would recommend probably is when you first play the game, I'd recommend playing on the tutorial. And then if you're any kind of a strategy gamer at all, I would probably just go ahead and skip over easy altogether and just go straight to normal. Because easy, I played on an easy game on my very first game, and that was the game I went to like turn 82, and it was just a breeze. I mean, I had both cities were doing great. I didn't have any difficulties hardly at all. So the normal game, I just played a normal game, and it was the one that I ended up losing, and what ended up happening was the Norse faction won. It just kind of got out of whack. I don't really there's a lot of depth and little nuances to the game, and it seemed like I was doing pretty well, and then just all of a sudden, it kind of, next thing I knew, over the course of about 10 turns, it got away from me, and the Norse had a bunch of units, the Greek didn't. And anyway, I'll get into some of that as we get into this. Woe frequency, that has to do with, there's events basically that pop up, and the events pop up every 15 or so turns, or depending on how you have the settings. Like here, it'll show you that it's every 10 to 15 turns on Age of Man, Age 13 on Age of Monsters, and then you have Age of Gods. And again, I think that's why it's a 90 turn life on the game, because each section has 30 per turn, which of course you can change up here. So I guess if you wanted a longer game, you can make it 50 per turn. And then you have the score requirement, which I'm not 100% clear on this, but I think this has to do with what I explained about is if you can reach a certain point total by the expiration of a particular age, you can actually get like a win condition, I guess. But I haven't been able to meet that up to this point, so I'm not 100% clear on that either. And then this is a kind of a skybox that you can pick in the background. And you'll see that here. So you start off here, and we have the Norse down here, we have the Greek up here, and the graphics, I think overall, and I know some people have been criticizing it in the Steam forums and whatnot, but the graphics overall I think are very well done. You know, they're kind of like, you know, hand-drawn art style. I guess the issue most people have is that the units don't animate when they move, and I know that's one thing that some people have picked on. But to be honest, when you get in late game on this with so many units on the board, you're going to be skipping over all of it anyway, so you could really care less of how much they animate. So I think people are being a little nitpicky. The music also is very well done on this game. I like a lot of the music, although one or two of the tracks seem a little elevator-y to me, so your mileage may vary. Overall, you know, 90% of the music is good, but every once in a while it'll kind of get into a little riff that I'm like, okay, I can turn that one off. I have a couple other little criticisms, but overall, I'm pretty positive on this game. But I'll start off. When you very first start, you get 9 actions. You can see that it's Red's turn over here. You can tell because of the little red highlights, and it says Red right there with 9 actions. You start off with 9 free actions. I'll go around the UI here just a little bit to explain a few things. You can see that it's the setup round. We're on turn 0. The red population is 1 with 1 town. Blue is 1 with 1 town. There's no bandits yet. My score is 0. And then here, you can see that incoming in 10 is a serial killer. And I've had this one before, where basically it's a serial killer that goes around the map killing units. Yes, you heard me correctly. And it'll last for a while until the next event comes up. So that is saying, I believe that's upcoming in 10. I think that's basically saying that in 10 turns it will start. And this is saying that the score by turn 30 is 1,000. So I think if I'm able to get to 1,000, maybe that actually has to do with the multiplier. Because there it says, if you read that box at the bottom, it says by the end of Age of Man 1,000, Monsters 6,000, and Gods 12,000. And then it says score multiplier after game victory 2 times. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what that is. I don't. Maybe it could be just a gauge. Like I said, I'm not real clear on that. I'm sure somebody who's experienced with it can clarify it for me in the comments. So anyway, you start off with red, and we're going to build a few things. Now, a couple things to keep in mind when you're starting out. Up here is your kind of your military buildings. So you got barracks for your normal soldiers, archery, siege equipment, which is good for attacking buildings, and then towers, which are defensive in nature. Then you have all your different resources. You have the raw resources, the raw resource nodes, and then you have the finished goods. So usually all of these down here require something up here. And so you can look down here to see that a stonemason, you know, requires, you know, wood and rock. So you're going to need a woodcutter and a rock quarry. So that's kind of how that works. I believe I counted it here, and between these 4 and these down here, it's like 25 buildings, and you have, I believe it's 24 squares. 5, 10, 15, 20, and then you can't count that 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 24 squares, and there's 25 if you just look at these up here. So you can't technically build all of them. You wouldn't be building a tower in your first city probably anyway. So you can't. You could almost fit one of everything, but not quite. So this is kind of something to be in mind. And then of course here you have key other buildings, like that you can start a second city with a town center, and then this basically makes all your military units come out as level 2. A couple other things here. These are just land placement if you need to fill in, if you want to fill in a certain way, like there's a hole here and there's no way for military units to get through here because there's mountains here and here. You could put a piece of land so they could get through, different things like that. Here is direct actions, and this is something I'm not real clear on, or I maybe is another suggestion I wish there was something added, is that this is a God game and there's no lightning to strike down people with. I was a little disappointed with that. I wish there was a way that you could, every once in a while, yoink somebody. This smite tile, all that does is allow you to destroy a building tile that you control. And then you have command, which is you can tell everybody, hey, I'll come over and kill this guy, basically. But you can only use that on, can only be placed on enemy gods. So, like, if you see a god that could be trouble, I guess you could get rid of them with that. This is to repair buildings, which is very useful. It takes 3 actions, however, to repair a building. And then this allows you to upgrade units, which I don't use this very often, but probably should. Okay, and then one of the more fun ones is your mythological units. You can create these guys, and they can really wreak havoc and really turn the tide. So if you have one side who's really putting the beat down on the other, you could bring one of these guys out and it can kind of even it up. And then the god tokens is something I'll touch on in a little bit later, but essentially at certain points in the game, gods will come down and be placed on the map, and you can put god tokens out, and when they go over and pick the token up, a certain type of event or something will happen because of it. Usually beneficial for the side who the god is for. However, sometimes there's a few of them that are not beneficial for anybody. It's made kind of a mechanic so that you can create, controlled chaos to a certain degree or something. So, and that, and then you got your intern here. This allows you to look at a report of the last turn, and that's most of it. So, and over here, this of course, as you might estimate, is a resource chart for all the resources that you currently have. So we'll start off here real quick, and I'll do my normal build up. I put my barracks right up here at the front, and then I'm going to start with a pig farm that will provide food for growth and whatnot. And I'm not going to explain all these. If you play the game, you can kind of check it out and hover. And again, this game is only $5 on Steam as well, so that's just something I'll throw out there. Well worth it. Even if I wouldn't have received a gift copy of this game, I fully intended to buy it because I had read about it about a week ago. So we have the pig farm. Then we want a butcher so that they can take advantage of that. And the sheep farm we'll get later, but we're getting bacon from the pigs, so that's fine. I'll just do my usual build queue for these first 9 actions. So I usually will put a rock quarry there, then I'll put a stonemason right beside it, iron, and then a smithy. Then with the last 2 actions I will do a wood and a carpenter. Okay, and that's usually how I start off. That's all 9 actions. And then usually I will do the exact same thing on the other side. So put a barracks out in the front. I usually do that because it helps your units to get to the other guys a little quicker. I don't know. And plus I don't want to put maybe more valuable resource buildings out towards the front to get destroyed. I'm sure there's a lot of varying strategies you could have in regards to how you place everything. And then a lot of times what I do is with the second city, I'll found a second city, then I focus more on the jewelry, diamonds, things like that, which are some of the things you use to get towards the mythological units and various other things. And this may seem a little clunky here in the beginning when you very first start out and you have to put all these down, but I mean typically you're not doing this much placement throughout the game, so it's not as bad as it may seem with me doing all this weird clicking back and forth here. Smithy, that was the other one. And then the last 2, I want the woods and the carpenter. Intern. Alright, so thus we start the Age of Man. And we still again have the serial killer coming in 9 turns. So now we're on the next turn. Now, as you can see, I now have 3 actions. And anything I build now is going to have requirements to it of these resources. So now, the other thing you'll notice here is in the beginning when I first looked, I could build one of these mythological units. It's usually a bad idea, and I think the tutorial even tells you that. You don't want to bring these guys out early because it'll just get everything out of whack. And, you know, especially from the Greek side, if you bring out like a Minotaur, he's just a wrecker, and he'll just it won't be pretty. So again, keep in mind the goal of this game is you're trying to keep the balance of power in check. You want these two guys to beat each other's skulls in as long as they can while you continue to go for a high score. Yes, that is the general gist of it. So now, I don't know how multiplayer works, and there is a multiplayer component to this game. If I had to imagine how multiplayer works, and I could be totally wrong, if I had to imagine how it works, I would imagine it'd probably be one person's in charge of one side and one person's in charge of the other. And, it probably changes the whole complexion of the game. But in single player, you're trying to keep it going as long as possible. So, let's go into the second phase. Now, usually my next little set of buildings that I typically like to do is I like to get the clay and the potter out there, pottery out there quickly, and then I will do the let's go ahead and do the sheep. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now, one question that a few of you who are not familiar with this game at all may say is, well, wait a second, Tech. You're sitting here putting the exact same buildings on each side, and you're generally putting them in a pretty similar configuration as far as where they're set. I mean, won't it just be a draw and just makes it an easy win? Well, no, not necessarily, because there is some imbalances between the two sides. I believe, and I could get this backwards, but I won't get it backwards because I'll be vague. But one side is their normal units is a little tougher, or is tougher, but their mythological units are a little weaker. So one side has, advantage, disadvantage. Other things also come into play. There are some role mechanics going on, and also things happen where, in regards to movement, if one unit moves into space earlier than the other. For instance, here's an example right here. The red faction was able to actually get their unit out first. You can see the blue guys the Greek have not gotten their guy out first. The reason, and if you look here, and I'll show you, this is another part of the game that I didn't pick up on the first few times, is if you look at this hover over, you can see there that top guy, the Ekdromos level 1, it says he's the next in the queue. And then it shows the cost down there. It's saying that we need 18 bacon, and we have 56. Excellent. More bacon. And then it says we need 12 bread, but we have 0. And then it says 6 pike, and we have 6.33 available, whatever that means. So the problem is, and it even will tell you there, is it says we're missing the wheat farm and the bakery. Now see, they need the wheat farm and bakery in order to get that first unit out. So the setup might be a little different. So over here, maybe it was a bad idea to do the clay and the pottery. Maybe I should have done the wheat farm and the bakery first. Now if we look at this side, we can see that the Huskarl is the next in the queue, and there we have the bacon, we have the axes, we don't have the horse meat. So we don't have the horse meat because we do not have a ranch yet. So I need to take care of that. Now this guy who is out is a marauder, and if you look here, the marauder down below needed bacon and sword, which both of those I actually got because if you remember, I had the pig farm and then I had the smithy. So that's the reason why red got the unit out first, and that maybe have something to do too with what happened in the last game. So that's kind of how that works. So based on all of that, if we take a look here, I need to get a ranch for the north side. So we will go ahead and take this ranch, and we will put it right here. Then after that, we will go ahead and let's see what else we have here that we need. You know what? We'll go ahead and get some more military going. We'll put the archer unit up here in the front. So then that takes care of that. We'll go ahead and just bank this action. Any actions you don't use do get banked to the next turn. You can have a total of 9 actions, and then any actions beyond 9 are wasted. So you can bank. So you'll notice when I end turn here with 1, on the next turn I'll have 4. So over here, we take a look again, we can see that I need bread. So I'm missing a wheat farm and a bakery. So let's go ahead and do that. Wheat farm, we'll put it right here, and then we'll put a bakery. So that should take care of that issue, and we should start seeing the returns. And you can look over here too and kind of get an idea of what you're missing out on as far as the resources. But early on, you don't need to worry about that a whole lot. So we went ahead and took care of that, and then let's go ahead and put a archery out for them as well. And we'll put it right there. Okay, and then that's all their, we used all their actions. So bam, right there you can see he's moving across. And then, again, as you can see, they just kind of slide. Now the graphics, I mean, I think the hand-drawn effect looks really good. I mean, maybe it would have been nice if there was a little, to be honest, for me, and I know everybody may be slightly different on this, but for me in regards to the graphics, it actually doesn't even bother me that the units don't animate, to be honest. I mean, I think it's actually fine, and I love the kind of the hand-drawn board game look that they are going for here. What I would have probably liked to seen, though, just a small little touch I would have loved to seen, would have been like maybe some smoke, you know, like a little plume of smoke coming out of the house here or there. You know, maybe you see like the little sheep, just a little one moving around or something. I'd like to seen some of the tiles be slightly animated, just a little touch. It didn't have to be anything major. The units are fine in my opinion. So I don't know. Maybe that's something if the game does well for them. Maybe they can add a little, you know, animation, a tile animation pack or something. I can't imagine it'd be very hard to add like some of those little small effects, like I just said. So anyway, we're going to keep going here. We'll go with red. They have 4 actions. Now, one thing you can start looking towards in the future is, number 1, you want to look towards setting up a second town. Now, the way a side will lose in this game is if the town center ever gets destroyed. The town center cannot be attacked until all the other buildings are destroyed. So that's something to keep in mind. So one way to extend survival for both sides is to have more than one city. And that also will then double production, double units, this, that, and the other. So that's something to keep in mind. So in order for me to get another town center, I need 10 cut stone. And this is another very slight, and if one of the devs happen to see this, and of course all the rest of you who've played the game, make comments below, but this is one small thing that I swear just gets to me for some reason, is on this description right there in the orange you can see, it says that I need cut stone, and it says, I just, the way that it's worded gets me for some reason. It says costs 10 out of 9.33 available. It's just, that's just weird the way it's worded. I guess I would rather it say, you know, that you have 9.33 of the needed 10 somehow, or I don't know, just the way it's worded, it catches me off sometimes when I look at it, and it just looks weird. But after you play a little while, you get used to it. But it just seems like, I guess what it is maybe is that it seems like it's backwards, that the first number you see should be the amount you have, and the second number should be the amount that is needed. I guess maybe that's what I'm getting hung up on. So anyway, we'll carry on from there. So we have 4 actions with red. Another thing you want to start looking towards is the mythological units, and that can kind of give you an idea of things you should be working towards. So for instance, this elf, it's saying that in order to create that light elf, I need incense and pottery. And you can see the pottery there, the second item, I'm in the process of getting that because I have 24 out of the I have 5 out of the 24 needed. Like I said, it messes with my brain for some reason. The incense I don't have yet. And then it says right below that, you'll see is that to get the incense, you need a seer. Okay, so we need a seer. That's something we need down the road. So we can go here and look and see that in order to build a seer, we need 10 pottery and 20 lumber. And hey, we're not too far off on either one of those. So that's something to keep in mind. So again, that's just stuff you can kind of look towards. So we need stone if we want another city. We need a little more pottery and wood if we want to get the seer. So those are both things to look at. Now, another thing is the smelter. We do need to get a smelter at some point to get steel, because that comes into play on a lot of things later on. And we'll kind of touch on some of that as we go along here. Whoops, I didn't actually mean to end that turn, but that's fine. Actually, we'll just go ahead and end both turns. This way it keeps it a little bit even. So as you can see, red has come over here and initiated a fight, and blue killed the guy right there. And these little scrolling damage things, you can turn those off. Actually, by default, they are off. I just turned them on because I kind of wanted to see it. So blue killed that red guy, and now they're coming over here to try to get a jump on things. So we can kind of take a look here and see that, you know, right now, it looks like blue has a little bit of an advantage right now, actually, because they have 2 units that have gotten out. And we can see that the next barracks unit, they're short on bread, and it's going to take at least 3 turn. It's 3 turn cooldown, so it's going to be a little while till they get that one, and 3 turns to that one. Let's see what's going on with the red. Why don't they have another unit? Okay, number one, they need more horse meat for that one, and there's a 3 turn cooldown. On the archery, we're having a big issue here. We don't have the Fletcher, the wheat farm, or the bakery. So we're not going to get any archery units out of here until we get those solved. So let's go in here and see if we can solve as many as we can. The Fletcher we'll put right there. And then we need a wheat farm. And we need a bakery. Alright, so that gets everything we need. And now it's just a matter of the number of turns it's going to take until we get it. And you can see right there we already have the 6 bows. And then the bread, we have 6, so it's going to take a few turns for the bread to come through. Let's take a look here. Okay, we already looked at this side, basically. Okay, red we've already figured out. Let's look at blue. The Minotaur, these guys are pretty tough. And looks like we need a seer and a smelter. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. We need a seer for that, seer for that, seer. Okay, so seer is definitely something we need to work towards here. And actually it looks like they will be in a position to get a seer by the next turn. So I actually don't want to use any other materials right now because I want to be able to get that seer building. So I'm just going to go ahead and end turn again. Plus blue is kind of winning. So what kind of happens in this game sometimes is you'll have one side that's kind of got an advantage. So what you'll start doing is you'll start kind of just saying, okay, well, I'm not going to do anything for blue right now because they're winning. I'm going to focus on red. And so that's kind of the situation I'm in now, because red doesn't have any units, blue's moving 2 units towards them. I need to help red. So that's the situation we're in. So let's see. Let's take a look at this again. Okay, they need bread before they get a unit out. And they need horse meat. Now the horse meat, we're getting 0.5 horse per turn. So that's really hanging us up there. I mean, technically we could build another ranch, but that's really sucks to have to do that. We could do another town center and build a ranch in that one, and I think that's what we're going to do. And I'll do this just to also show you guys how this works. Now, there's requirements. You can see here it has to be at least 5 tiles. If you read the bottom half of that, well, the top 2, it says you cannot place here because it's 3 away from another town. And at the bottom it says at least 5 tiles apart from all other town centers, at least 8 tiles from allied town centers, and no more than 8 away from an enemy town center. So we kind of look here and try to find an advantageous spot. Now, one thing I didn't catch on to the beginning is you'll look at it and you'll say, well, I want to build it like over here somewhere. I don't want to build it right there in the middle of the battlefield, and that's a little too close. You know, like the perfect spot would be like right here would be the perfect spot. So what you can do though is you can drop land tiles to get it to there. So we want it right off the corner of, well, let's put it right there. So what we need to do is we need to drop a few tiles, then go back, and then build it. And there we go, we have Haverig. So now we have a new city, so we'll go ahead and start off. We'll put some of the basic prerequisites that we need there. We can't put a butcher down yet. We do need, we want to go ahead and put a ranch down so it helps to produce more horses. And then we'll put down a rock, and, ooh, I can't get the stonemason yet. Let's put wood down. Oh, we can't put the wood down yet? Oh, we have 0 actions remaining. Okay, so we'll have to wait. Okay, blue has 9 actions, so we definitely need to use some of their actions. Now, one thing is we wanted to go ahead and get that seer going. So we will put that seer right back here. And then, how far away are we from this? We're very close on that, so we don't want to spend any stone if we can help it. Let's go ahead and put this Fletcher down, though. I don't think we had a Fletcher yet, so let's do that. Oh, that used stone, so we kind of did what we didn't want to do. Now, down here, these are the mythological tokens. These tokens, once you're able to place some of these on the field, you'll see, if you look at the bottom there in the green text, it says you can only do it every 3 turns, and then it says points from placing token 80. So that's kind of how you can go towards your point total here. And here you can kind of see that shows you some of the ways that you're getting points. So it's saying by kills, so you want conflict. So by kills, you're getting points. Building kills, you get points. You get points from putting tokens down, and then you also get more points from doing the god tokens that I briefly explained, where when a god appears on the field, you can put one of their tokens down and they'll go pick it up. And then god deaths also get you points. So those are all the various ways you can add to your score. So we'll go ahead and let's just let's end a turn for right now. See if we can kind of get red going a little bit. Alright, well, let's go ahead. What I'm going to actually do is I'm going to actually, for the purposes of this video not getting drug out too long, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right now. We're on turn 6. I'm going to go ahead and play up to about, say, turn, I don't know, 12 or 13 or so, and then I will start it right back up so you can kind of see what's going on. Alright, we're back. Actually a little bit early. This is only turn 11. But I wanted to show you just a little bit more here before we wrap this up, but just to kind of give you a bit of an idea of some of the other stuff going on. Here you can see a bandit keep actually popped up here, and they usually start popping up around about turn 10, I believe. You can see we're still in the serial killer woe, and it shows you that the next one is accelerated growth, actually, which says the continent grows at an alarming rate. The effect gets stronger in later ages, so that's an interesting one. One thing I was going to show you here is the serial killer one that's going on. What ended up happening in the turns that you didn't see is there was about 3 blue units that came across here, and it was kind of getting in the situation where now blue was going to start dominating a small bit. But I believe the serial killer struck and killed blue, and it says right here, we can go in here, you can look at a summary of different things that happened on the last turn, and if we click on blue here, it shows that they lost one of the ranged units by the serial killer. We lost a melee unit by a serial killer, and then one of our melee units and their melee units, the red ones killed each other, so blue and red just killed each other on that one. And then that was the flip side of that one. And then they damaged a building and put a carpenter, butcher, etc., etc. So it shows you everything that happened. So if the way this report is useful is sometimes a few things will happen really fast, And especially if you decide to skip, so you don't watch all the processes, which happens later in the game. When you get around turn 80, there's going to be so many things going on that you're not going to sit there for 5 minutes while all of them animate. So you're just going to usually probably hit end turn. If you look at the map and something, you're like, wait a minute, what happened over here? You can pull this report up and see everything that happened. So that's one thing to be aware of. A couple things I'll just show you what I did though. We have a bandit keep there. Blue did spit out another archer. He came over and attacked that. And then we have red over here. Blue, we built the second blue city right here. Now my thinking here was by putting these two so close together, I thought maybe it would get some good cheap conflict going on with some units back and forth. So that's just a strategy I decided to play around with. Just see how that particular layout works. You can kind of see up here too the population. Red's got a little more population than blue right now, so red's got a slight advantage. Bandits, we do have these bandits right here. I believe when it's saying 2, it's saying okay, there's 1 keep and then there's 1 unit, so that makes up the 2. So what we'll go ahead and try and do now with red, we still need a seer with red, don't we? We do not have a seer yet. But they are very close, actually, to being able to get that. Red, I'm actually going to skip their turn. Blue is the one that needs a little more help. One thing I want to do with blue is I want to put a barracks over here so they can start popping units out. We need a bakery and a smithy over here. So we will put a bakery. That's right, because I built a wheat field there. And then we need a smithy, but I cannot do that yet because we need more cut stone. Yeah, that's going to take me a few turns to sort out because I gotta get a rock down and a stonemason down here, which I don't have in the city yet. So that's something I'm going to have to work on there. Let's go ahead and let's see. There's really nothing else we want to do. Well, this is how this works. I'll show you right here the lion thing. You can throw this down. It says it grants the first 5 non-bandit humans to claim it a 3 times attack bonus as well as a full immunity attacks from bandits, and that will give us 80 points on our score. So if this works the way I'm fairly sure it does, I can take this and I can put it like say right here, and then this guy should grab it. Any other units that come out will grab it, and then it gives them a damage bonus and all that kind of good stuff against bandits and everything. And then you also see that the score did go up for me placing that down. Let's see if do we have any other actions we want to try to take on this one. I think we're pretty good overall with these guys. So we'll just go ahead and end another turn. Oh, but that archer got killed by the bandit, so my whole plan didn't work out there. Now actually they were able to get that bonus, which I didn't think the bandits could get that bonus on that. I guess I might have read that wrong. And then the same thing over here on this side. I can kind of do this here. Put a thing there, and again it's more points, gives these guys a bonus. Immunity to range attacks, so that's another one of those. Oh, we needed to get the seer over here, right? Put it back there. Okay, excellent, so we got that taken care of, and we do need a smelter. I do know that. Let's put that right over there. Alright, we definitely needed that stuff to be done. And then we need, let's see, we do have barracks over here. We don't have battle axes because we have a smithy over here already. That's one thing you can run into too, is you can kind of get a little confused going back and forth between the two sides, and it's just something I guess you get used to after playing it, is you start forgetting what things you need. And you can reference it by looking over here, and you can see, hey, well, obviously we're not getting any moonstones or sunstones or incense, so we must not have a seer here. I just built the seer actually. So you can kind of reference that to get an idea of what you need. But it can get a little confusing sometimes. I mean, I guess once you got used to and visually you know what the symbols mean. I know that's clay. I know that's a rock pit. I know that's a seer. You know, once you kind of get to where you know the icons a bit on visual sight, it'll help you out. So let's just go ahead and intern. And then blue, let's see, does blue need anything? Next in queue. Okay, we need a ranch over here. We do not have a ranch. Let's just put it right there. Okay, I don't see any building requirements there. Okay, we need a smelter. Can we get a smelter here yet? No, we need more cut stone. Alright. And we can't do... I guess that's about it. We'll just go ahead and end that turn. Alright, and as you can see, between the turns, new tiles do pop up, so looks like we have one more turn of the serial killer. That wasn't good. Who died there? Looked like somebody... Oh, jeez. Alright, so this bandit here is causing troubles. Now, the thing is both sides, even though this guy's kind of over here harassing blue, the red will come up here and attack it. And so you can see another bandit is getting spit out. So this is going to be a little bit of a dilemma here until we start getting some more units out for both sides. Now, one thing that's very useful is to pop this school out, because this school will start making all your units level 2, and that will help with the bandit issues, because a lot of these bandits, that guy's level 2, but I imagine this guy here... Oh, he's level 2 also. And see, so that's part of the problem, is you've got level 1 guys coming out. So if you take this, though, and put it down, we'll go ahead and do that over here. And then we still need to... Oh, we can put a jeweler down now. Let's go ahead and put that jeweler there. We need the diamonds to make the jewelry. We have the smelter now, so red's doing pretty good on most of their items. We need a smelter over here. We need cut stone for that. So we're still... Okay, that's one thing we need to do. We gotta put this over here, and then we gotta put a stonemason. There we go. I think that's getting these guys... Do we need a smithy over here? Probably do, but I don't know if I need it right away. Let's just go ahead and do it anyway. Intern. Alright, so we got a red guy popped out over there. Got a blue guy popped out over there. Alright, so maybe they'll start ganging up on this bandit situation and take care of that. More bandits. Alright, and then that ends that turn. So, as you can see, I'm on turn 14 here. I'm not going to hit the 1000 by 30 most likely, unless we really start trying to pick up some action here. But, I mean, this kind of gives you a good feel, and this video has probably gone a little longer than I anticipated. But this is a very neat game. It's a very unique game. I mean, if you can kind of, if the visual style doesn't put you off, the gameplay elements to it are very solid. It's a very cool take on the whole God game genre, where you basically have, you know, two sides, and you're just trying to kind of, you know, keep the balance of power going best you can without one side getting a distinct advantage. And there's a lot of other things that I didn't even show in this video, like the gods popping in. You'll eventually have these gods show up, like Ares or, you know, whoever. And the gods will show up, and then there's certain items that you can put down, tokens you can put down, for them to go get the tokens, and then some event will happen, you know, which will affect a lot of things on the game world. So that's a very neat mechanic to the game as well. And then there's a lot of different woes that pop up, which really, you know, change the battlefield in different ways. So there's a lot of replayability to it, because you can kind of get, like as you saw I did early on, you can kind of get your basic pattern of how you're putting certain things down. But then from game to game, because of the different woe events, because of the different gods coming down at certain times, you can have completely different outcomes. So, you know, no two games will necessarily play exactly the same. You know, for instance, this game here, compared to the last game I played of this,
I set up fairly similar to this general setup, and in the last game I played, uh, I believe it was red got a very distinct advantage early on, and I mean blue was just reeling. I mean, worse almost at this point. Now right now this is fairly even, although it's kind of the same thing a little bit because blue is having a bandit issue here and red is getting units out. So it's a similar issue, although the last game I was much slower getting blue's second city, the Greek second city. So this time it's a little earlier. So I think I'm going to keep the. I think the balance is going a little bit better on this particular game than my last one. So there's a lot of little mechanics like that that you can play with and say, okay, well maybe on the Greek I need to make sure I build that wheat and bakery earlier so I can get that other unit out quicker than I did last time. And you know, you'll kind of see some of the nuances between the different build queue orders and things like that, to where you're really trying to just run the engine at the most optimal balance to keep everything going. Of course, a lot of things start getting crazy when you start putting some of these mythological units on the battlefield. Then it gets real interesting trying to balance it, because you have a big Minotaur from the Greeks coming down the battlefield, and he'll just own 3 normal units, pow, 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 and just stomp them into the dirt. So then you got to say on red, okay, oh, now I got to get that guy in check. So now I need to do something else. So that's where some of the challenge of the game comes. Of you're kind of releasing this chaos, but you're trying to control it at the same time, without actually having direct control. And that, I think, brings out some of the neat elements to this game. So anyway, hopefully I didn't talk in too many circles there or confuse you on it. Again, this is a very neat game. I definitely recommend you guys try it out. It is only $5 on Steam, so it's more than, for $5, if you just get a couple afternoons worth of gameplay out of it, it's worth that amount. And I've already gotten that, and I do intend to play this game quite a bit more, because I do want to play through a couple of full games and see how the different mechanics play out over the long haul. So anyway, that is it. Thanks for joining me in the tavern, and I'll catch you guys next time.